Welcome back to the Insiders Podcast. We're back, another special guest for you, and we are stoked to bring you Dane Gudauskas. This is an epic, epic chat. Honestly, goes down so many road avenues and roads that I never expected, and I think that you'll love this. This is a classic, classic yarn fest. Myself, Daz, Dane, enjoy.
Legend.
Dane, how you doing?
Good. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Cool.
You can see me all good?
Yeah, that board looks crazy behind you.
Oh yeah, this thing. Yeah, this is a little twinny ASIM twinny from the guys at Album.
Wow. How do you like it?
I love it. Yeah, I really, really like it. I think there's a real good space for ASIM boards, especially like for people who aren't as good.
Yeah.
Um, because it really I really like it frontside, but it really helps me backside, which is where I struggle with. Or like
Whoa.
is a weaker side for my surfing. But yeah.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, it's a pretty cool little board.
I love that. Well, thanks
Yeah.
for making the time and accommodating. Sorry, yesterday didn't work out to my schedule, but I'm glad we made it
Yeah, all
today.
good. And to be honest, today actually definitely suits me slightly better. And I don't know, probably Darren as well. But yeah, this is
Yeah,
Daz.
Darren.
Hello, Dane. How are you?
Doing great. How are you guys doing? What
I'm
day
pr
is it over there? What?
Friday night, mate. Friday
Oh,
night.
wonderful. There it is.
Friday night's fight night.
That's great. What are you guys doing? You guys, is there waves? Cold, probably.
Um, there's
We'll see.
waves. Well, I don't know about for Matt, but for us, the waves after we've just had a massive 2 week Atlantic storm, but the
Hmm.
wind swings, so it looks like from tomorrow for the next 6 days, it's 6 to 10 foot and offshore. Variable. It won't be offshore all
Hmm.
day, every day. Hey, do I'm not sure if you remember, but I did meet you and your brothers collectively
Hmm.
at the second original Euroglass factory in the outlet zone there
Oh
of
yeah. And
Hossegor
yeah,
when we had the Channel Islands license. I remember you guys came over.
that's
I think it was
amazing.
one summer or something, and I'll throw this straight into the podcast straight away because my lasting image of you is I think the day after or the night after I'd met you guys there, and I went into town. I don't know if I went into town with friends or whatever. So this would have been 2007 or eight, and I remember seeing you running up the hill, like face white, serious face, and I just thought one of your brothers must have been in the shits or something, and you're fucking legging it.
What did I do? You know what's so funny is honestly we had so much fun. So that was probably during the QS runs and a lot of memories there. But one of the trips over there, we had to sleep in the parking lot in our car. We had like a tiny little car. It was me, my brothers, and I think Dylan Graves, and we were like sprawled out on the hood of the car. We had to think we were like in the board bags on the side of it. It was, a classic one where you didn't have any combos fall through. You know how gnarly it is in the summer over there. We just were rookies and we soaked it up. I mean, we were going out at night. I mean, we were just having a hell of a time, loving it. And yeah, that makes perfect sense. We had so much fun. I mean, yeah, it's
I
a
said
special place, Europe, but that was fun, man.
that must have been a pretty exciting time with you then. I'm going to let Matt get us back on track, but while we're there, that must have been funny actually traveling with your brothers.
Oh yeah, well, it's so fun because that was at a time when there was nothing to lose, right? Like we were just starting and none of us had really any. We had some, maybe Patrick had some light success. I think he won an event, a 4 star in France, but we were all just giving it a crack. And there was a bunch, the culture was totally different. There was a bunch of
Yeah.
people, a lot of older dudes. It was a party. The whole thing was a wild scene. And it was just a lot of fun. And Dylan's like one of our best friends. And so getting to travel all together. And Tanner, I think, had just graduated high school. So we had kind of initiated him, brought him over and he gave it a crack. I think he actually made the semis or quarters at Nuki. I think he had a good result
Oh
there
yeah.
early on. And we just had so much, we just immersed ourselves and it was just wild. I think we ended up sleeping in like some random closet that someone gave us to sleep in Lacanau. I mean, all the while too, you're trying to compete. It was very unconventional compared to what is happening now. But it was a lot of good memories, for sure.
Yeah, no,
Traveling
no,
with my brothers, I miss that too. That time of life was just not a care in the world.
yeah,
So it's good.
no good stories ever started with. Oh yeah, right. I went to bed at 8 o'clock and had like all my electrolytes restored. It's definitely not as fun, and
Yeah.
yeah, that sounds like a hell time. You can't beat. Obviously, like the last couple of years, we've gone down, or I've gone down for the Quicksilver Festival, which feels like a bit of a throwback because
Yeah.
we
And they're
do like,
really got a cool collection of people, right? For
yeah,
that
and like
event.
you're literally like, it'll be like every night there's a film premiere on, and you're stood there, and like you've got like Mason, Noah, like all of the crew, even like some of the people that you might not think let their hair down, but they're there letting their hair down. Like I remember CJ Hobgood was there and like out at the parties and stuff, like not like wild wild or anything like that, but he's still out the night before, and then the next morning they're like competing, but it's like a lot less of a serious vibe, and it feels like it might be like a little bit of a throwback to those kind of fun times, which is
Yeah.
cool as.
Well, hopefully we can make it back over to Europe. I just love the whole region is so wonderful. So many good memories, so many good friends that we've made it throughout the years. And the waves are spectacular. So yeah, hopefully
Yeah,
we'll
the
be able
last
to get back
time
over there.
last time actually was really weird. It was a couple of years ago now. I think it was like nearly 3 years ago now, and I came down to France for like 3 months, and we met on the beach after
Yeah,
like
that's
having a
right.
chat. It was super weird, and because you were with
I was filming with a G
is-
Skate, I think, for
yeah,
Europe demo tapes, which was kind of like a marketing kind of initiative that we did with Channel Islands. And I was hanging with Paul Daniels
oh
there
yeah,
in France, and we were filming, and we got some great waves. Charlie Quavant and
yeah, San Pitar.
Sam, yeah, Pitar was ripping on one. And it was a lot of fun. But yeah, I remember
Yeah,
seeing you on the beach and we were
I was
catching
just
up and
like,
having a chat.
oh, it was that was really cool. Was that the last time you was in Europe?
I think so. Yeah, we
Yeah,
speak with all the Pukas crew
yeah.
because we're really good friends with those guys quite frequently. So I FaceTime with them like once every couple of weeks. So I feel like I've been there more recently, but I don't
Right,
think I
yeah.
have. I love getting the surf report from people around the world. I'm like, oh, what's it doing? What's it been? It just feels so cool now. You can be so connected with friends so easily, digitally. It's just epic, you catch up. It's like you live around the block. So
Hey, why you mention that? Because I'll forget it because I've got a bit of a forgetful brain, like what happens with age. And it's off base again. Sorry, Matt. But you
that's fun.
mentioned Dylan because I remember like that's when it was obviously then because all four of yous come in a whole bunch of times and he was Channel Islands as well at the time. So I was able to. I always followed all four of you after because I'd meet you guys young, not just you young surfers. So after you actually meet someone then if you're watching an event, you do have a vested interest in it. And at the time, I guess you guys were a little bit more high profile than Dylan, and you all had like really successful careers with Vans and free surfing.
Mhm.
But do you notice? Well, notice obviously you notice how Dylan just fuck over the last 5 years
Mhm.
turned that little video thing into like something incredible. Have you still got good contact with him?
Yeah, Dylan, he was, I think it's called like the officiant for our wedding here. So like we're really good friends and we chat all the time and I'm super proud of him for developing his passions, right? Like, the weird waves thing started with something was like a subculture and he was uh it's funny because by the time Vans released the Weird Wave series with Dylan, he had already been kind of working on it for like 5 or 6 years, like underground, and trying to get it
Yep.
off the ground, trying to get it going. So he had kind of baked himself into the culture, kind of had the flow, was developing his technique and his voice, like how he's such a great
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
communicator. And so I think like having that time um, to develop it, and then things come in trends and waves, and it's just a wonderful time how his trajectory has come, and he's such a great communicator, and he brings people together, and I think that people can really rally around that in his videos, and it's just a wonderful thing, and his adoption onto the YouTube platform and the way he's gone about it, I think is just incredible. So yeah, we're always like, I'm always like, dude, when's the next big drop in, buddy? Let's go. I want to watch it, man. I'm stoked. He's always on a mission, and he's always making the most of it. And he lives in Australia now, but he was living in California for so long, and then he moved back to us with his gal. So we don't get to see him as much, but we're definitely huge fans of what he's doing.
Is she Australian?
Yes. So they live on the Goldie. So it's funny, like you said with the
Okay.
surf check. So I'll check the Snapper Rocks cam and I'll text him and be like, holy mackerel, that looks so cool. Because I remember our first trip to the Gold Coast, I think was with Dylan, and we slept at the Backpackers, and walking up and just seeing how white the sand was and how crystal clear the water was, and these beautiful little runners and offshore winds. And I would never seen anything like it. And for him to be living there and that's his reality, it, we just laugh about it. You couldn't believe it. Like, right when we were catching up with you, Darren, at that time in that era, like, who knows where life takes you. And it's spectacular, to see how everyone's path. So,
Yeah.
Even though saying that, did you see that video drop, Matt, on, I think it was Callum Robson
yeah. Oh my
at
gosh, I saw
Snapper?
that. It was so crowded.
I thought it was AI at first. I literally thought it was AI.
Yeah,
I don't,
crowds are a thing. But even in California, and you guys would know because I'm sure you guys have traveled and surfed lowers and all those places. Like, there's days that you just can't surf. I mean, it's probably everywhere because it's just so crowded. But there's so many other days around it that you
yeah,
just feel
yeah,
so
yeah.
lucky to be in the spot. And it's the under forecast days. It's the days it's not much to write home about, but you get home, you get out there, and it's just a light local crew. Everyone's got great vibes, and I'm sure he's experiencing that as well. So, but yeah, sometimes when you see those peak moments of intense crowd, it just totally turns you off, and it's a blowout, and it's crazy. It's almost just mind blowing, right? Like, how could you get motivated to go
It
out?
it
But it
probably
is what it is.
it probably helps
That's
him that he's built a career around searching for other waves, so that he probably like doesn't have to probably doesn't want to surf snapper because it doesn't. It's almost like a too perfect of a wave for like some of the waves he surfs now, which is kind of funny. Maybe he should do a series on weird people that surf rather than weird waves.
well, I think it's right. I mean, it's tapped into just a universal thing of humanity and people and the cultures that are around these waves. And I remember going to the Great Lakes and surfing in a super intense cold snowstorm, probably about 10 or 12 years ago now. It was like really cold. I had a big ice beard,
Yeah,
and it was so much fun. The experience was so insane. But traveling from California, I felt like it was this huge, exciting mission. We're driving through this blinding snowstorms and, covered in ice. And there are people that do that every day. And it was their consistent surf experience, and they live for it. That's what made them wake up in the morning is to check the surf. And it was like sub-Arctic out there. So I think what Dylan did is a wonderful job of tapping into these amazing cultures that exist
yeah,
and people and the stories and that kind of uh, freshness, people who are actually excited and not jaded about surfing is, I
yeah.
think, what we all aspire to deeply. We all want to have that joy.
And although I do love Dylan, it would be cool to talk about you. And the one thing as well that I wanted to bring up was that you've been on a recent trip, kind of semi-recent trip, to
Mhm.
somewhere that's not really on the top of everyone's ideal place to go for waves, I guess, in terms of like it's freezing cold. And you went out to Iceland with your wife. Was your
Yeah,
wife?
my
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
wife and baby, yeah, it's so
Yeah, I
fun.
thought I saw that. I was going to mention the same thing as Matt, that, and even before that, you kind of, after you stopped competing, you did kind of
Yeah,
start traveling to photographic waves, photogenic waves.
Yeah, it was what I was just obsessed with as soon as I stopped competing was just immersing myself in every, I guess not category or just kind of style of surf, and I was super lucky to have friends and mentors in each kind of unique, nuanced part of the surf kind of world, and the cold water thing really came about um, probably in the 2010 or so, or I can't remember my first trip to Norway, but it was in the Lofotens and Chris Burkhardt, who's a
Yes.
photographer from San Luis Obispo, and we had known each other and became friends, and he was super instrumental in bringing me along to a couple of trips that just blew my mind. Growing up in San Clemente, I never even went to the local snow mountains. I was a surf dog, and so I didn't have very much cold exposure, and I just fell in love with it. As soon as I got out of the plane in Lofoten, I was, in totally the wrong gear and all this and that, and people were laughing at me because I didn't know how to prepare. But we got there and we had so much fun. I was hanging with Keith Malloy, and we were just surfing these epic waves, and there was no one around. Like we spoke about crowds and how to avoid them, and all those regions were just untapped, and we were just finding these epic waves. And we went from the Lofotens, we went to the Faroes, we went to Russia, we went to, up in Alaska, and it just started snowballing. I guess snowballing is kind of a weird word because it's part of
Yeah.
snow, but um, it just kind of one thing led to another. My relationship with Chris and the magazine he was working with, Surfer Magazine, and that was super important. Obviously to provide value for the brands was to get in the mags, and part of that was having great relationships with photographers and yeah, so I mean, I think too, a lot of people struggled in the cold and complained in the cold, and I was just like, dude, this is heaven. I could just like go out and make a snow angel on the beach and freaking go out, and get a couple waves, and come in and roast a hot dog and go to bed. I had no complaints, so I think it was a good time. And then too, I was super grateful to guys like Kepa Sarah for inviting me down to Africa. I got to travel a lot down the whole west coast of Africa with him, so kind of doing like an adventure style thing. I had the snow thing. Big waves was a big part of it too, with Nate Fletcher and guys like Reef McIntosh, and Hawaii was a huge part of it, and the South Pacific became a big part of it. So I really try to focus my efforts professionally as a free surfer, just experiencing a huge, broad surf experience, like what it kind of felt like to be a true surfer, in my opinion, how I kind of viewed it. So that was kind of how that kind of came together.
Yeah. And then you've been able to develop that and now like land a trip with your wife and your kid. Like what an amazing experience for you, like for you to, but also for them to be able to go and experience Iceland. Um,
Yeah, it was epic. Well, my wife too is she surfs really well, and she actually independently, before I even met her, had she felt she loves going on big cold water missions too, surf. And she's traveled up to Maine a bunch in the snow and surfed out there on a longboard, and Iceland as well. And it's ironic because we go and we have some really special friends in our life, Ellie and Rachel, and Ellie's Icelandic, kind of one of the early pioneer surfers over there. So we go and stay with those guys, and they have it so dialed. And Anna was friends with them as well before I even met her. So it's really cool. We have a great kind of vibe over there. And Heidi, she, for her to go over there and experience like nature, like really intense, raw form of it, going and just, the wind's just ripping through these fjords and just, and you're the only one around. And it's just intense feeling, big thunder, boom, coming through, and then she's just eating these little berries in the wind, and the waves are just offshore in the distance, and there's no one around, and it's quite a peaceful kind of experience, for her to
What
experience.
what sort of rubber are you packing then for that sort of session?
Um, I mean, that trip was not the dead of winter, but right now with Abyss Wetsuits, which is so cool, it's so Patrick, my brother, who you guys know, his wife and their family has been building Abyss wetsuits for a long time for women, and he's adopted Abyss Waterman. So actually, I was talking with Pat in the last couple of years, like, hey, we got to make something that works really good in these conditions. What would we take our experience and how could we apply it to making a suit that's perfect for it? And so we just made a new 5.4 actually for that trip, back zip, which I love. I think back zips are the best. And Patrick has done a great
So do
job
I.
bringing it to life. Yeah, otherwise you're like doing these kind of funky little
Oh,
things
it's
and
heavy.
yeah, and then especially if you take a wipe out on a big wave, it just goes, the water comes in and it's jarring. You guys know, I mean, you get flushed on a big one, you're bummed.
Yeah.
For me, it's more even just fucking getting out of them in the car park. It's embarrassing trying to ask someone if they pull them down.
Oh, yeah, it's weird, right? I know it's so
Yeah.
funny. But yeah, we're super grateful and I'm proud of Patrick for really going for it with Abyss Waterman. And, we've, you know, done some really cool stuff. We were just in Hawaii, shot a campaign for them for there, and he's got a great team he's developed. There's a really awesome young kid you guys should keep an eye on named Jimmy Thompson, who's originally from South Carolina, but he lives in Hawaii now. He's one of my favorite young surfers. He's just awesome, dude. So it's been great. And seeing the next generation come up and trying to support them with the right mindset and opportunities has definitely been a
I,
good
I
thing.
I saw that like I kind of added two and two together and saw that like well I saw your post about Abyss and saw that Patrick had left a comment saying like thanks for testing and whatever. Um and I think that's really cool because like part of my day-to-day job now is like working deep into the wetsuit world and
Yeah.
I've looked like the last couple of months I've looked at the back zip and even the back zip so the back zip's kind of making a bit of a comeback with all the bigger brands but
Yeah.
they're just doing the same thing as they've done before. And I'm like, there's the back zip, there's problems with it, but it's a really good functional way of having a wetsuit. But like the having the tether on the zip and stuff like that.
Mm.
I look at it, I'm like, surely in 2026 like we're in a place where we could improve a wetsuit. Like we can take the back zip and go, how do we? So I'm
How to
really
continue
keen.
innovating with
Yeah,
it.
and I'm really keen to follow brands like Abyss and follow brands like Florence and stuff where um you've got yourself and Pat and I've seen that like Rosie Hodge
Yeah, Rosie.
and stuff where like I'm hoping internally when I see it that I'm like, oh, I hope these guys actually go, yeah, this is cool, but this actually sucks. Like,
Yeah.
what can we do? Um, because then hopefully the end goal of that is that the user and the general consumer market gets a better product and potentially you've got a brand like Abyss or a different brand and this is where Florence is making moves where they're actually small changes to products are making big impacts and then it's turning heads away from say like your really big companies that are a bit lazy if that's a way of
Yeah.
saying it. But yeah, because I was going to ask about Abyss and ask about like how your involvement is and stuff. But that's really cool.
Well, you
Um,
can be a little more agile, in the marketplace and test new
yeah,
ideas. And like you said, I mean, the reason it's funny because I guess since in the last few years, it's really been about like, hey, okay, like from our experiences, which are pretty vast and widespread, um, how can you create products that are improved upon? How can we use our experience to improve the products that we wear daily and what do we want to wear ourselves and how can that kind of inspire the marketplace? So
yeah,
that's been a cool place. And I love that mindset that you have is continually trying to innovate and improve. And that's ultimately what you want is to have comfort and warmth and something reliable. And I mean, yeah, everywhere's winter hits us all pretty darn
yeah.
hard. For you guys for sure. You guys are probably in booties and hoods and 5 mils and the whole
Uh,
nine,
up
maybe.
here, yeah. I'm in Cornwall, and here we're pretty much yeah hooded 5 mils, and
Yeah.
then like some people are still no gloves here, but if you were to go like South Coast UK, which is like an
Mm.
hour from me, yeah, you need gloves like and for probably the next month or so, and that's probably been a month, and it's um it's pretty heavy. Like you see some of the performance levels of people when like I remember watching some clips of Tosh Tudor recently where he's
Mm.
in a full hooded suit and boots and stuff and he's still
Oh yeah.
surfing real good. And I'm like that shows quality because it is not saying it's easy, but it's easier to do it in boardies and like just
Yeah.
boardies in a rash top than it is in like 5 mil wetsuits.
Well, it's definitely, I remember my first time, like, yeah, it's shocking. You feel stiff. And then the moment you kind of can't feel things,
Yeah.
and you need your legs under you. And I remember surfing a couple slabs, yeah, in the UK, and then also up in Norway, yeah, and in Iceland actually. And it's just like by hour two, you're just wishing for the best. You just hope your legs are under you, and you hope you might as well just close your eyes and just like try opening them. And if you're in the barrel, you're in the barrel most
Pretty
of the
much what I
time.
do.
It's kind of a wide shot, and it is what it is. You just do your best. That's what you love, though. I mean,
Yeah.
otherwise, everyone would be there. Everyone would be doing it if it was easy. If everyone was in board shorts, it would be packed. You know.
I just remember that I had to give up kind of, obviously I'm older, but I just had to give up proper shortboards in full winter because I'm skinny too. So I'd get to a stage where I'm cold, my feet are cold, where if I'm on a shortboard, I'm not standing up on the right spot.
Mm,
And I noticed I couldn't surf anymore. Uh,
yeah.
whereas if you're on a bigger, thicker board, we're lucky we get a lot of bigger waves here, so I can surf guns at different spots where you can get to your feet when you're
Mm,
cold, and it doesn't matter if you're in the right spot. Where you even notice that even in summer with like paper thin shortboards, if you're not in the right spot, you're not in the right spot. And trying to do that with 5 mil booties on, it's just
too much.
it's yeah, it's too
Yeah.
much. It
But it's
just kind
great.
of
I mean, now, like, I'm sure you guys are seeing, I mean, the lineup is full of any kind of board, and I think there's a whole lot. I'm sure the UK has gone through that kind of cultural awakening, I guess, in terms of riding all kinds of different boards. I mean, Matt, just behind you, we're looking at like an ASIM we were just speaking earlier. Like, I think, like, to your point, Darren, just a little foam is a magic, and then you're
uh,
getting the glide and you're not fighting. I mean, as I've gotten older, it's such a wonderful feeling to have to work less hard, right? And to just enjoy the process of riding the waves is is paramount. I mean, that's what the goal, my goal is, like when you paddle out there, you want to just tap into that flow and riding bigger boards. I was just hanging with Parker Coffin yesterday and we were talking about that. And it's just that extended rail line helps you just make it easier to access the drive component. So I'm
yeah,
sure
you're
you
not
guys are
pumping.
finding that.
Hey,
Yeah.
was that you? That was you, correct? Was it a Donald Brink? Did I
Mm,
not see a video of you on a massive glider?
yes. I've I have a couple humongous boards from Donald Brink, and I have also a really tiny board at 4.2.
Okay.
So but you guys know Donnie, has he spent some time over there?
I met him. I met him at Euroclass. He came over briefly. He
Awesome.
was he was doing something with Whistler. Fuck,
Mm.
you can get lost with him.
Well, I mean, he's spectacular. I mean, he was and is a great friend in San Clemente. We would spend a lot of time together, and Donnie and I. So that's another mentor that I'm so grateful to have. We would spend so much time together at the Surfing Heritage Museum, and just sit there and look at these old boards. And San Clemente had this awesome museum of surf, and I'm sure there's some in Europe where that you can kind of see these really old boards. They had Duke's boards, they had the Olos, all these kind of different shapes through the history of surfing. And our imaginations would just go crazy. And Donnie, he's always trying to bring the past and marry it with the future and kind of try to bring his spin on it. So, we made a 14-foot wooden kook box board with chimed rails. I mean, I didn't make Donnie, but we were together. That was a really
There
fun
you are.
time. And he chimed out the rails. And so it was really easy to kind of navigate it from the toe edge to the heel edge, and wrote it a bunch at Sano. And I read it up here where we live now. And in small waves, I got a 1311 kind of foam Olo kind of thing. It's really wild. It's intense to put on the car. It's like bending like a banana. And then I was in Iceland actually a couple years ago, and was at Santa one day, and I saw him surfing something that essentially looked like a giant ski. It was like a 11 inches wide, kind of a total rocker kind of thing, and it looked kind of like a crazy. I'd never seen anything like it. You're basically just riding the rails of a board. and I loved it. I was like, Donnie, I have to see what that feels like. And so we took it, he shaped me one. I took it to Iceland and I got this unbelievable double overhead left point and solo session, and just flying on it. And then, and then all the way down to like an Ubuntu. And that was kind of his 4.2. And it was kind of based off this mini Simmons that someone had lent me in New Zealand. And I had never ridden a mini Simmons. It was just totally blowing my mind, like to feel like, wow, this is totally a trip, speed and flow. And Donnie, came back and was telling him about my experience, and he just whipped up this little thing. And I took that board to Africa a bunch and rode it down there in Nigeria and some other countries down there, and it was so fun. So I don't know, Donnie's spectacular. I mean, he's a real free thinker, and I think it helps, has helped me see things I couldn't or feel things like I wanted to feel, but I didn't know how to get there. I guess you have to have those kind of influences in your life to like break on through to the other side, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like I just know there's more out there than what I've experienced. And Donnie was definitely and is a shaper who can kind of access those kind of like infinite kind of feelings that are totally unique. And he
Yeah,
just loves the craft. I mean, how can you not respect someone who builds everything from top to bottom and lives it? So I have a lot of respect for Donnie.
for sure, for sure. And with that, because there was quite basically, I had noted down that you and your brothers, especially Pat, as well as you, and Tanner does as well, but I know he's on Hayden now, so we won't mention that as much. But you have the cleanest looking boards. Like when like I think it's Pat who had a just this. I think it's still a rocket wide, but with like glass ons, and it was just all white with white glass ons and stuff. But you also had a board, I think last year that um, actually helped me make a decision on a board that I got a couple of months ago, and it's a Twinser, right? It's a CI
Yeah.
Twinser. What I wanted to ask is obviously with CI, you're working with like Brit and he's got a catalogue of boards. And obviously he's in a way he would want you to surf boards that he's selling, right? So like the G skate stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then he's got you coming with these fresh ideas, which he 100% needs because like obviously the G skate was a huge success. Like
Yeah.
they
That's a
are
really fun
everywhere.
board.
Um, so is the Twinser a Twinser version of the G skate or is it the Twinser
I
version of the,
think
or is it fresh?
it's that's super experimental. And I think ultimately Channel Islands has been so awesome, right? Because you were kind of just detailing the dynamic there that is so complicated for a team rider and for a business to manage, right? Like you have the boards in the line that are coming out and they're like these high foiled out, marketed pieces that you want to support at the retail level and get people informed and educated and inspired about to check them out and go ride them and hopefully they fall in love with it, right? That's the ultimate goal. Because we've ridden for CI since we were like 12 or 14 and now we're actually part owners of the brand, which is spectacular. So we feel super grateful to those guys for the long-term support, through all our trajectory of our career, up and down and all around, sideways and upside down. And so it's been awesome. But yeah, my role in the brand, and I've always felt this way, is that, I really work hard to support the models that are on the floor, but I really want to educate myself on surfing history, surfing design history, and I want to bring ideas to the team that can be valuable in terms of like continuing to push the design element, right? And it's not like a literal carbon copy. It's more just like you said with the Twinser thing, like, hey, what is the feeling? What is the benefits of Twinser designs? How can we, think about this and modify it and utilize it with where it makes sense? Maybe if it does make sense at Channel Islands, in Channel Islands, catalog. And that goes the same for fishes. And, Devin's been awesome. He came in with these awesome ideas about the mid length and the eggs and brought his whole surf history behind him. And it's been awesome for the brand, and I think that customers are benefiting as a result because they get these awesome boards that Britt puts his hand on and makes some magic. So, but the Twinser is just for fun. I saw it coming out and I'd had some a couple years ago. I was really excited about Martin Potter riding these blue Hawaii boards. And this was about 6 years ago. I was in Hawaii and I got some on the Rocket 9. I actually put some on the Rocket 9. I don't know if you remember
Yeah, yeah,
that design. It was real pulled in tail. And I
yeah.
put this epic little like fang channel in the back. And I was surfing a bunch of pipe and Rocky Point, and it felt incredible. And Potter would rip on those things. That was really the first time I was like, this is a design that has a lot of potential in this space. And then I was at Scorpion Bay, and an older fella gave me this beautiful long fish that was a twinser shaped by Larry Maybile from San Diego, and it was like this little scooter machine, like yeah, it was so free and unique. You know, when you have those big keel fins on a fish, it feels like you're really just
Yeah.
banging on that thing, and you're leaning over, and it's holding, and you're driving, and it's like steering a big old power ship at like a full speed, you know. But this thing was really kind of sensitive and a little bit more agile, and so I was like, oh man, I really kind of want to get back into this feeling. And so, you know, we started tinkering around, and True Ames is up here in Carpinteria, and they've been really cool with trying to get the right fin sets. And so I've just been learning. But yeah, the G Skate, I played around with that, the Rocket Wide, and it's just for fun. But I'm super excited to see some on the market. You know, I know that you got guys like Derek Disney who are shaping them a bunch, and there's a bunch of young dudes who have really implemented that design and really recaptured the spirit of it, which I love. And then, you know, I think even some of the big manufacturers are bringing that out as well. So
Yeah.
I don't know if Channel Islands will ultimately or will not, but it's more just like, man, I'm so grateful that they're willing to like let me play with it. And to, I know, I just really try to stay as open as I can, because then, you know, that's how you keep things going in my mind, you know.
Yeah.
You get to the
Sometimes
next step.
sometimes that 1% or 2% of design, I mean 1% of popularity or whatever, like that might only be 1% of Channel Islands customers are ever going to buy that thing, but it might generate 10% of media that is
100%.
also bringing the whole brand up together.
Yeah, and well, I guess you said it. I mean, people are so curious online in the social media era, and YouTube and social media and Instagram. Like they really like. I found that people are, you know, inspired to watch things that they kind of haven't seen a ton of, or you know, I guess you can see that with the success of a few surfers, where it's like they're just bringing something fresh to the table, and people are just curious about it, and it opens their mind up, and maybe they take a little risk that they wouldn't have taken generally. Maybe they're getting off that 511 shortboard into something a little bit less traditional, you know. So
And that's it, is at the end of the day, like there's different people, and that's the beauty of surfing. Different people have different interests, but we're all just like, especially me and Darren, and I think this is why like yourself resonates with a lot of people, is you could just tell that you just have a love for like for surfing and for surfboards. Like we're self-proclaimed surf nerds, like, and especially surfboard nerds. We always just want to, like, the first thing we want to ask anyone is like, what are you riding? And like, what have you been riding? Or like, whenever I watch a clip, some people watch the wave and go, oh, I know the location of that, or oh, I know where that is, and or when that was. And I'm like, what board is that? And like even in my local lineups, like I know people by, like, I'll get out and I'll be like, oh, the guy on the G skate, he was ripping, or like, oh, the guy on that foamy kind of thing. He could have had blue hair or green hair, I wouldn't know, but I'd be able to tell you what board he's got and what fins are in it, just because we're like, but we're just that's
nerding
the
on it.
whole beauty of what we've of this sport or cultural world that surfing brings us, and that's why we froth on it, right?
Yeah.
Um,
It is the most important thing in our toolbox.
Well, it
well,
is. It helps with kind of sculpting the motivation to go surf, right? I think for me, it's
Yep.
like
Yep.
even like where because I'm closer to the CI factory up here, and so I was surfing these points in California, and I try to ride a different board every day. Yeah, it's not like I'm surfing every single day, but you know, each session I usually try to completely throw myself a curveball and ride something that I have it. It's been sitting in the corner of the room. You know, I guess if it's a really good day, I'm gonna grab a good board that I'm like, okay, this is my tried and true. Like there was a big swell the other day. You guys probably saw some awesome clips from the Rincon Classic,
yeah.
and I grabbed my G skate and I was surfing at the top of the point. And, oh, the thing felt like totally locked in. It was really wonderful. But a lot of times I'm just like experimenting for the value of the feel that I'm getting under the feet, like the sensations and just going, my mind is, I guess people watching the experience, I don't know what kind of vibe they're catching, but like for me, it's totally internal. Like
Yeah.
when I'm standing up on the wave, I'm processing, okay, like how's this thing coming off the bottom? What's it feeling like on the top? What's the roll off the bottom? How's it sitting in the pocket? What do I want to experience? How do I want to react?
Yeah.
Dude, that's hard.
We
I
Gouda,
can't get on the codes.
we
I
normally
fucking hate
like
these
give
codes.
people we normally give people a little warning and go, right, oh, it's going to cut off after 40 minutes because we're cheap. And then I'd completely forgot because we started talking straight about them on board. And then you were saying about like your experience of surfing at Rincon and stuff, and I was like, and then I saw it go to like under a minute, and I was like, I need to interrupt him, but I can't. And then it just went black. I was like, ah.
Oh, no stress. I mean, we've been on so many Zoom calls. I mean, everyone has it. It's just like click, and you're like, oh, how do I get back into the portal? So
So how was how much out of how fuck I can't make a sentence. How many out of 10 was that Rincon day? That looked pretty good.
it was awesome. The event was really good. It was just a super local scene crew. Just the whole community was there rallying. I was down there commentating with Britt for the pro division, and I loved it. I mean, it's wonderful to see California perfection doing its thing with no one around. I mean, that's part of the beauty. It's learning to appreciate seeing an empty wave, right? As a spectator and just admiring how good it is. And sometimes you want to get out there and you really want to rip it, but there's a level of kind of just appreciation that, watching an empty wave is it never gets old, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of just spectacular. The whole point was going off and all the local crew was having a blast. So
Hey,
I
can't do better
so
than
saw
that.
I saw a clip of the other Dane,
Yeah.
um, and it
Oh,
was
didn't you wish there was a webcast? Sometimes there's a
yeah,
webcast for that event. But
yeah, I
yeah, can you
really
imagine
did.
watching DR do his thing out there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just a clip where he's doing this like grab rail down
Mm.
carve, and you're like, is that 15 years ago? Kind of like vibe to it. It was
Well,
so
Brent, the
sick.
team manager for CI, um, really worked hard with Britt and Chris, who's a local organizer and just an amazing crew of people. And they were like, the pro division, maybe kind of emulating a little bit of the Dahui backdoor shootout with guys not in jerseys and having that bit of a free surf feel to it. Could kind of, I guess, bring a bit more of that natural spirit. And I think it kind of obviously resonated, that clip and photo or whatever. I mean, is pretty timeless. Seeing Dane Reynolds absolutely go nuclear on like a 6 foot glassy Rincon wall, not a soul in sight. I mean, that for surf fans is a success.
hey, so you mentioned this is I guess was you said the community. Now, in this world we live at before, we just talked about Snapper before where there was, let's say, conservatively 500 people in the lineup, and couple of one surf online site has got a nickname for vulnerable adult learners, the VALs, which we're surrounded by. When you say surf community, has Rincon in that area, which is Santa Barbara, south of Santa Barbara,
Hmm.
it's
Yeah,
still been able to keep a surf community?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think California, pockets of California, I think a lot of California has maintained. I mean, there's spots that are just completely beginner only. It's definitely seasonal, summertime. Everyone gets that. Um, Up here, yeah, you got a little barrier entry with the cold. Um, but it's just a spectacular surf community. And what I've learned through spending more time in California in the last few years is that everywhere you go, there's there's this beautiful history that lives and breathes at each local spot, right? Like you're in the lineup, let's just say it's Rincon or Lowers or up in Ocean Beach in San Francisco, for example. And There's people who have dedicated their lives to each of those spots, and they have kids that are going to dedicate their lives to that spot, and their grandparents came in and wherever, and it just, or everyone's got some sort of experience that they're bringing to the table and in these lineups. And so I've just been trying to process how to be participant in the lineup, try to support each other, and try to also honor the history of each place internally, and just understand that every time you go to these new locations, there's going to be people who have dedicated their life to it. And Rincon is no different. It's a rich surf history location. So with board design too, I mean, you got guys like Yater and that whole generation of board builders. And, Bob McTavish was actually, he came down one afternoon. I was surfing out there, and he came down on the beach with Devin Howard and Wayne Rich, who's a great longboard shaper, and all kind of shaper. But they came down, and it was this really kind of small, crappy day. And I was like, wow, it's Bob McTavish. That's insane. He's on the rocks there. And went in, and he was telling some awesome stories of the swell of 69 and this huge winter storm, and what the wave was like and all this and that. And it was just like, holy mackerel, like that's just incredible. I just really love hearing those stories of the past. And yeah. And, I think even San Clemente is a good example. People think it's, obviously impacted with a new generation of froth and excitement, Orange County. But there's a lot of history and roots there, and soul, and great people that just live for surfing. Ultimately they're so excited. And North County, San Diego's got its whole trip, and up north is a whole different ball of wax. But everyone just, there is the real deal. But yeah, there's a bunch of adult learners too sprinkled in the mix.
Yeah. It's just about, I guess it's about like with the adult learners, there's nothing wrong with an adult learner. It's just hoping that they don't come in with this, with maybe like bad habits picked up from other sports that maybe they've done in their
Mm.
life, or other areas of their life. Like um I've experienced it. Like I've moved 4 hours, which in England is the same as moving from New York to Cali in America, right?
Mm.
And I've moved to Newquay, so it's basically the surf like capital of England, and I've been here 2 years now, and I think it's taken me about a year and a half to 2 years to kind of wiggle. Like I started, so I wouldn't go and surf like
Yeah.
the main peaks and stuff. I'd want to and I could, but you're paddling out there, and you kind of like I felt like imposter syndrome, or like not right doing it. And now, even after 2 years, I'm like still slowly working towards that, but I feel like I'm doing it the right way because I've had the teachings and the learnings of speaking to people about how you go about that, and how you respect spots and stuff. And you just hope that adult learners or whoever else it is does that. Even if you rip, but you move from one spot to another, you still need to respect the
Yeah.
time spent, and the like kind of the lineup there, which
Well, I
is
love to hear that, because I mean, I can relate. I mean, we, growing up in San Clemente and moving up to this neck of the woods is a different experience, and like you said, it's like, how would you go into someone else's house? People care about the
yeah,
waves just like they care about their own bedroom, right? And it's not like, it's just like, be kind and courteous, and move slower than you think, and things should work out for the better.
yeah,
Ultimately, over the long course, you do more things right than you do wrong. I think things will work out. And I think by leading through example, um, is a good way to share that with newcomers to the sport. And also too, usually people want to learn. Sometimes they're resistant to um, new perspectives, right? Like you said, like if they're coming in with a different kind of mindset, they can kind of throw the lineup out of whack. But I think a lot of people are out there to try and enjoy the experience. So hopefully when everyone's enjoying it together, it's kind of a collaboration, the way I
yeah,
view it. So if people take responsibility in the collaboration, um, then it should work out fine. But when people get on that single track mind that I'm this is my wave, this is my, thing, then it might not work out so well. The wheels might start falling off. So,
it's such a hard sort of thing because, like, for example, I had the imposter syndrome here for 10 years because not only was it not my home beach, it wasn't even my country. And like I've been here 28 years this year. So eventually,
wow, that's great.
yeah, and for example, my home spot, which is the closest spot to my house, and my favorite spot's Lenore at Hossegor, the spot out the back.
Oh,
And we've had no good sand for the last 2 years, but maybe it's moved a little bit. And the other day was one day out of 3 weeks of storm where the wind was good, and I just noticed it when I woke up. It was all sunny in the backyard, and I had to take my son to a basketball camp. And I thought I was dropping him at that was just down at La Benne, just a bit south, and I thought I'll come past and check it on the way past, on the way back home, because I thought, oh, maybe I knew the tide was sort of right, and I went past and it was kind of like pumping. And
mm,
I'm like, fuck, I gotta get home, I gotta get home. Like get this that immediate stress you get. Because I was like, I mean, it's
yeah,
only
I can
10 minutes
relate
home,
to that.
but I had to get home, get my board, and it's winter. Pick a wetsuit. That like the whole drive home was, do I take a 5.4 with hood? Do I take just a little slip on? Do I take my 8.3? Do I take my 7.7? So I worked all that out, got back, the whole drive back. I think I had about 4 or 5 old people in front of me, driving 30, because it's midweek, winter.
Well,
So
too, your neck of the woods in the winter, it was probably a ghost town 28 years ago, right?
yeah, it was. But and now, like there was people in the lineup, but then I got out there and there was like Charlie Kiveron was out there. I just spoke to him before. I'm going to try and get him on, and William Alotti.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, the boys.
and then a couple of other guys, and then there was kind of no one because it was just a random day.
Mm,
It was still interesting that, like, as I put it out, the first 5 people I knew, and
yeah,
and it will be like that on those days. It won't be like that on, like, like July.
yeah.
What's your national holiday? July,
Fourth
Fourth
of
of
July,
July.
yeah.
Or
That's the
here
day.
it's the 15th of August. You never get that. But on the random days in bad weather, you do notice surf community a lot more, don't you?
Yeah.
Because people are getting out trying to get their fix.
Yeah, and that's what kind of it's like you're a part of that fiber and the fabric of the community, and that if it feels you feel a part of something and more broad than ourselves and bigger, and for me, it's been I find it to be a grounding experience to participate in the community, to look out for one another, to have friends and have a shared experience. Like to me, that is meaningful. It provides value in my life and stability and it's just a really awesome thing that hopefully people aspire to experience that kind of friendship and community of surf. So yeah.
What do you know what I love is how funny we are as surfers as well, right? So like say for example Darren's experience just there and he paddles out and he sees 5 people, 5 people that you know, and you're like kind of stoked on it. You're like, oh yeah, boys, like let's get some. You paddle out and you see 5 people, so same number of people, but 5 people you don't know, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing here? You're like,
I know surfing is well, the weird part is it's such a limited resource, right? And
Oh,
yeah,
it's complicated. I think ultimately it's such a bizarre thing, and I think every surfer that grows up and spends a ton of time in a location can kind of understand that season of change with new faces in the lineup, and I think everyone's just trying to figure out how to navigate it, and they've been trying to figure it out for generations, So I don't think there's an answer, like you said, Matt. It's like, yeah, your vibe might change, right? Your perspective might change, but
yeah,
what I've been trying to go is like I'm in control of how I see this experience, and like you're participating constantly, and it's like be a part of it, like
yeah,
try to communicate with people. I think there's a huge value, right? Make a new friend, or maybe
yeah,
and that's the thing too, is like this could be this could be a cousin of some guy who's lived there for 60 years, and it's their nephew's in town and he's surfing, and whoa, there's a cool connection. or not, but I've just been surprised at like how deep the roots go and how you don't really know until you start talking to people what their story is. And there's a lot of people accessing surf for a whole lot of reasons and going out in the water on some days that they might need it more than you and or
That's
that
it.
wave. And it's like it's
Could be
cool like to be a part of it on that level.
could be some kid who's just had such a heavy family experience that you've never noticed.
Totally.
And you're
Right.
thinking,
And we don't
"Ah,
you
why is
don't
that
know.
kid frowning?" Well, he's most probably got, 9 times out of 10, they're not frowning because they're happy, are they?
Yeah. And it's
I,
hard, right? Like everyone, you have those kids that are just like pecking away at the lineup and just going and going and going. We're not talking about the like, but
No.
it's a broad understanding of like, you don't know what people are going through. There's a cool Al Chapman quote that's kind of been going on social media, and it's talking about him just giving a wave, and it's epic. I don't know, you guys got to watch it. It's in an old surf movie somewhere. Just type it in, Al Chapman, give a wave, and I think it's something that's the hardest thing for surfers to do ever,
It's
right? Is to give a great wave. So I've been trying to do that. Like, if you can give away one wave every session to a random stranger, it helps. It's helped me free it up. You know what I mean? Like, you're not so
yeah.
freaked out by the whole thing. It's just like, hey, cool. And then you learn there's more that come. There's always
I
more.
I always
So yeah.
find that we've said this on a couple of podcasts and stuff. I always find that like what you just said there, twofold, right? So on Wednesday night I was surfing and it was high tide and like, there was like it was a peak and there was like kind of one peak and there was maybe like 15 people on it. So kind of busy, not that busy. And there was this girl out and she'd been paddling for a couple of waves, but a couple of people were on her outside, so she let them go. So she done the right thing. And then I was on her outside. Um, and this wave came and I just looked at her and went go like that
Yeah.
and I watched her whole wave in right and she caught it, surfed it real good, and I was like that was sick. And then I was like I got like a lot of joy from that, and then I swear 2 minutes later this set came, everyone paddled first wave, and I kind of something told me like just wait. So everyone paddled out of position, and I was like slightly out back, and it was like the wave of like I'd been in maybe like 30, 40 minutes at this point. It was like the best wave. And it was like it was made for me. I didn't need to move. I just like slowly dropped onto my board, couple of strokes, perfect wave in. And I was like, have I just been paid back by like the ocean?
instant karma.
Or
And
you have to, and that's what I always feel like in the lineups. It's like this microcosm of like you're dancing on the ocean's energetic, it's as it's just unfolding onto the shore. There's all this kind of stuff, and when you're participating, you're continuing the circulation of things, right? And that you're moving people, and everyone's involved, and things start flowing like water down a creek. It's not sitting and getting stagnant, and everyone knows what a pond looks like when it sits long enough. There gets algae and mold, and it's just kind of funky town. So I think I always think of a lineup in that way. Just how can you continue getting circulation to it? And like you said, sometimes it frees you up in the lineup to move around and find those little pockets that bring you that really special wave. And yeah, that's surfing is weird. It's this totally nuanced thing where it's like you don't know what's waiting. When you paddle out and you have a 35-minute session, like how do you know the waves are already coming
yeah,
towards you, right? And the waves that you're going to ride are out there, just hanging
yeah.
out there, and they're moving their way to shore, but you don't know what's waiting for you. So it's this really cool, weird thing that I was trying to trip on. It's like a ever changing landscape, that you can
Yeah.
tap into.
I also thought like some of my most memorable waves are waves where like I was like maybe I should go, maybe I shouldn't go, and then I've been like a friend's been in the lineup or a random is in the lineup and they've looked at me and gone like yeah go like or kind of or like go go go, and you something switches in your head and you go, and then you remember those waves even more because you maybe wasn't gonna go or you might have let
Mm.
that go earlier in the session. So I'm such an advocate for that, like for people to just give someone a little like yeah, go. Um, and and I think it's sick. It
Yeah.
helps. You'll get paid back.
Well, I
Oh,
think too, it's just like it's cool to have ownership in the experience, right? Like and take responsibility of like, hey, like cheer people on or talk to people. And that's the way I think that we can all as a kind of surfing, ecosystem kind of help it grow healthier, so and listening. And I've had people at lowers just tell me the craziest stuff. Like you'll just be at lowers and talking to some people that, and you guys probably have been at lowers or heard of lowers, and
I've been there,
and
but
the
looks like
crowd is like psycho some days, and but you'll be sitting out there among 60 people and have this deep, really interesting conversation with someone going through some crazy stuff, whether it's like a huge battle with cancer or whatever, going through things and working it out in the lineup or not. You talk about coffee or just whatever's happening in the back door. You just don't, it's just so cool like that we all have this spot or these places that we can tap into to kind of just go enjoy, I mean, and recreate and express ourselves. And even for me in surfing, like the way it's meant, or like surfing now to me at this stage in my life is like riding a wave is like the most pure. It's like when I truly feel aligned with like who I am and how I can express myself like completely and most accurately is just when I stand up on a wave. And so like, and what comes to me in that moment in time is so just like clean, from my inspiration. So I think like for us to have that in our lives is like really a meaningful thing. So looking after it is very like meaningful to me, at least, So trying to leave the lineups better off than when we entered them, So hopefully that's the goal.
don't go to Snapper tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh gosh, man, snaps. I miss that place. I
um,
haven't been to Australia in a long time, but
talking about that, one of the things I was going to ask you is like, obviously we spoke about some of your recent trips, but have you got anything in the pipeline for
mm,
any trips coming up that you're excited about, or
yeah, we are working on a film project right now with the family.
sick?
With Ben Weiland, who's a really good friend. He's amazing. He does Arctic surf. Him and a guy named Bobcat, they've got an awesome YouTube channel. They've made a lot of films. The Outpost was one of them. I think that was in the Faroes in Russia on those early Burkhardt trips. So we're doing a really cool kind of cold, experiential kind of surf film with the family. Um, and probably Hawaii's always on the cards in the winter. And then I'd love to get down to the South Pacific this summer and get some barrels. I haven't been to Fiji in a long time, and that would be a dream to get back to Cloudbreak and just surf it at whatever size is available and just
When
yeah.
when when do you get your application in for the WSL wildcard?
Is there an event there? Oh man, that
uh,
would be.
is
Is
this?
there an
I
event
think they
there?
go back. I think they go back to Calvert
Yeah,
this
yeah,
year.
they're going back
I
Yeah.
there.
hope
They brought
so.
back the South Pacific leg. Hey, Dane, so did you kind of then nearly spark off what you could say a parallel career for you and Chris Burkhardt at the same time? Because wasn't that like his first big trip and he had
Yeah,
a photo or something in that shop that just made him, correct?
yeah. I mean, he's had some spectacular images and those early trips. Um, I mean, I think he was just coming into his own, his identity, I guess you could say, like this look and feel of what his. I mean, this is actually a Chris. He shot this one in Iceland. That's
Okay, yeah, yeah.
like a river from above. It's beautiful. But yeah, I had one photo from the low photos where I was doing big air and there's a huge snowy cap in the back, and that photo scene, it was a big spread and big issue of surfer, and it went like Nat Geo, and he had a bunch of like iconic kind of cold water trips at the time, and um, yeah, that moment when I stopped competing was when Patrick and Tanner both qualified. I think it was 2008 or 10. I don't remember, but I just was out of love with that situation, and I was just totally ready to just dive deep into this whole new world. I guess at the time I was based editorially on in magazines, and I didn't know what the heck I was doing or how to proceed forward. I just knew I had to do it and wanted to do it with my heart. And so I just totally dove in deep and just said yes to every opportunity I could, and um, just worked my butt off. Because on the QS, like, and you would know, Darren, too, you saw us like sleeping in the car park and stuff. Like the level of grindiness is so hardcore, and it's like I knew if I could just apply that same level of effort to this new kind of category, I could make a I could do something, and so that's what really motivated me. It's just that energy to go. Like, I've been on the queue, I know how hard that is, and it's like if I just worked out hard over here, I could at least move forward to some degree, and it worked out great through the relationships with people like Chris and Tug Glazer and Daniel Russo, and um, so many amazing photographers in the magazines, and Grant Ellis, and with Surfer Magazine at the time, and the Crew at Surfing Magazine. And we were fortunate, we were really lucky that we grew up in San Clemente, and the magazines were in San Clemente too,
Yeah.
so we could go in there and had relationships with those guys, and it worked out.
That's really cool. I've got a really left field question to ask you actually that's just come to mind. And it could be a very short answer. But have you by any chance watched the Mikey Wright Ferrari Boys clip that just released on Stab?
I did a little bit of that, yeah.
Okay, just because I watched it recently and we were going to talk about it on a different podcast, but like a lot of what you just said there about where you like turn off of competition, it was really interesting to almost see how much he hates it. Like,
Oh
and
man.
and like he and but versus how much he loves surfing and how much he literally lives to surf. But then if you said you've got to do a comp, it's almost like asking him to do the worst thing possible. And I'm not saying that you quite fall into that category of hate of a competition, but I just think it's really, really like kind of cool and a really cool message. I don't know how many like younger people listen to our poddy versus older, but especially in Nuki and other areas, like I know it's in Hossegor, it's quite like this as well. It's almost drilled into like younger surfers, like if you don't enter competitions, no one's going to be interested in you.
Mm.
And it's actually the opposite. And I think it was really cool what you just said. Put the same amount of effort and the same amount of traveling and the same amount of surfing and training as you would into a competition, but to your free surfing, and you'll probably be rewarded more.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, it's like you'll be rewarded more educationally, right? Like if you like
Yeah,
dive into it, listen to the elders. There's, at the time when I did it, there was a few free surfers, obviously Rasta. There wasn't a huge amount of there was a big kind of photo kind of crew, but I think, like you said, now there's an amazing blueprint for people to follow, and to feel like, hey, if competing is not my path, that you can go do. Literally, this is probably the most exciting time to grow up. I mean, unfortunately, there's not a huge amount of financial support as much as there was back in the day, but I think you could pursue any path you want to and surf right now. You could ride any single board. If you do it with your heart and soul, like, people are going to resonate with it. And maybe, like you said, Matt, like it might be twofold, threefold. Like, people really get down on some new stuff, and like I love Victor Bernardo. Like, Victor Bernardo is a
yeah, the
great example of someone who's like, he was competing and the guy rips crazy, and it's like, dude, actually just jump on these crazy sticks and share it in social media in an interesting kind of way. And he's lights out, so entertaining and energetic, and just taking you surfing to it. It looks inspiring. I mean, the guy
yeah,
looks like he's having fun, which is, and I don't hate competition. I think it's like I have so much appreciation for the guys who really revel in it. It's just not for me. Like, I
yeah,
don't, it's like walking around in a pair of like sandpaper pants. It just hurts. Yeah, like I don't, like, physically I get a reaction if I have a jersey on. It just get anxious and clammy, but that's like my experience, but like I like watching it, and
yeah, yeah.
I love seeing the kind of strategies that evolve, and because we're baked in that culture, right? Like, we grew up on the QS, and I think looking at competition when you're young is just a way to go, I'm surrounded by the best surfers in this local area, and that's only going to make me better. But
Mhm.
I know how parents get, people get all kind of nuts and crazy, and pressure and it throws kids off. But I think now there's hopefully a lot more opportunity to take it wherever people want to go. And like you
Yeah,
said, look at that board behind you. I mean, people are so wide open right now. It's just great.
yeah,
Back in the day, it was like, what? Like that's just crazy. But it works. There's so much more that works than people thought works, you
yeah,
know.
Well, I remember, like you said, when you guys were here, because like if I'd meet people there, I'd look and see how they went in the comp, and obviously there'd be a big population of young surfers who would just think, oh, pro surfer, wow, and all this. And I remember thinking, like on many times, because I saw a lot of people come through. They're on the other side of the world from where they are. Obviously, cost money. They're traveling, and you'd look and you get knocked out first round. I just remembered feeling sorry for them and like thinking
Mm.
like how gut wrenching that is. You go all that way, and actually that's not really like what's giving you the most like buzz anyway. Like
No.
if for example you were at that comp and it happened to be 6 to 8 foot and going off, and there was a whole bunch of different spots going off, you know for sure that the surfer that gets knocked out first round, he's going to go surfing and have a great day. But if it's not that good, he
Yeah.
gets knocked out. It's like, fuck.
Well, dude, I've seen people literally show up on the beach in like South Africa from California, paddle out, surf the heat, lose, get back on the plane that night and go home. It's like,
yeah,
what a shocker. So, but it is what it is. That in the WSL, they're really working to kind of try to continually refine the tour. They've made a lot of changes that some are good, some are bad, and I think that everyone's just trying to figure out that landscape. But the cream rises to the top competitively. I think ultimately the tour
Yeah.
brings. There's so many great servers on tour. It's a really fun product to watch. I mean, we all love watching it, and it doesn't matter if you're any kind of surfer, any level. And I think it's really fun. And but yeah, like you said, it's early days. But like you said, if that was the mindset, I think you got out of high school, if you had a potential, you probably realistically think it takes 5 years to get on tour, unless you're some freaking freak outlier. So you just invest, do the 5 years and see if you make it. And a lot of people did or didn't, and then you move on to the next chapter.
yeah,
It's so
But
it's
now you
yeah.
notice there's a lot of really good surfers that are really good surfers who've been able to have such varied careers because of
Oh
digitalization
yeah.
or whatever, and they don't care one bit about the fact that
Oh, well, they've taken
they're
away the middleman too. You don't need a judge. You don't need a magazine editor validating your thing. You don't even really need a sponsor who's paying the magazines to get your photos in the
not.
mag. Right. So it's like there's this beautiful uh opportunity to connect with people firsthand. And you're seeing that, right? We spoke about Victor Bernardo. There's guys, torn people who go viral. Like when they surf, it's just awesome. And you can feel it. And they're able to tap in and have a career. And it's this new age and YouTube and all the digital ways that people are making a career now is just it's an independent kind of thing. And you don't need a brand, you don't need anyone really to kind of validate what you're doing. You just put it out there, and if the audience resonates with it, you could have some great success. I mean,
Look
and
at
William Belotti's a
Lara.
good example too. I love William. I mean, from France. I mean, I think he's probably a great person to kind of look towards is like someone who's just totally on their own trip and it's
yeah,
resonating and people are excited about it and he's an exciting
100%.
surfer to watch. So
I
hopefully
think
inspires a bunch more of that.
We
I
had
really think what sorry, I really think what you said earlier, like about how grindy the QS is, and if you apply that though, because I think that is what's really important. Is there's a lot of people who don't apply the same work ethic because they think free surfing's easy or that you just go on trips. The people
Mm,
who put that work ethic behind it, again, the cream rises.
yeah. Well, I remember seriously coming on for a trip. I can't remember where, and I was getting a phone call. I would drive up to LAX, park the car, go on a trip, and then come home. And I was literally on the drive home, and I remember, I forget where I was going, but Todd Glazer called me. He's like, "Hey, we're going to Nicaragua with Surfer Magazine," and he's like, "Can you make it? The flight leaves tonight." And I was like, "Yeah," and so I just turned around and and drove right back to the airport. And I did, when you
Didn't
have
even unpack.
no, yeah, I just kept it ball rolling, and so it's like that kind of mindset. What I was really, uh, I really was like, I wanted as little distractions at home as possible. Less commitments. I didn't have, I was just focused on surfing, and for that 10 or 15 years, there was just a really head down, go hard as you can. And now seeing it from you get older, I'm so glad I did, because you're only in that pocket for so long before you kind of
Yeah.
life evolves, right? And it's not that it's just life is constantly evolving. And that's such a fun time of your life to be able to commit with no responsibilities other than paying your bills and stuff, and just like making sure things are dialed. So that was awesome. I'm really
Yeah.
glad I totally committed to it. So
Hey, we better warn you this time because I'm down to like 1 minute 30. So first,
okay.
I just want to fucking say, excuse my language, thanks for coming, Dane.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, boys. That was great. I'm stoked we
Uh,
got to connect, and
and
hopefully
I hope
guys
you
hit
get
some
to
waves.
ride that 14-footer soon. No, I don't.
Um,
I
Dude,
hope the surf's up.
it's heavy to have to get the thing off the wall and on the car. It's a
Oh,
workout. So, well, you
Hear
guys
that.
enjoy,
Thanks
and so glad. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to catch up for a wave soon.
for
awesome.
sure.
Have a sick weekend.
Okay, thank you guys.
Have a great day, mate. Take care.
Bye.
You.
Bye.